Flags Magic Mountain in Valencia, California, currently holds the record for the most roller coasters out of any theme park in the world. And they've got some quality too. There's a lot of really great roller coasters in this collection, which makes it pretty hard to rank, and that's what I'm going to attempt to do in this video. They have 19 roller coasters. The reason this is a top 17 is because I can't get the Magic Flyer credit because you need a kid to ride, and I haven't been since West Coast Racers. But I've done the rest of the rides here, so gonna rank my 17 favorite roller coasters at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Number 17 is Speedy Gonzales Hot Rod Racers. Of the kiddie coasters here, you don't need a kid to ride. This one is definitely the weakest. It's really short, doesn't do anything. It's tiny, and it's honestly for a kiddie coaster pretty rough. So not a great ride. Least favorite in the park for sure. Number 16 is Canyon Blaster. This is an ENF Miler kiddie coaster, and these, as far as kiddie coasters go, are some of the better ones. They actually have a little bit of bite to them. There's some very mild airtime moments on it, so for a kiddie coaster, does a good job. Not a bad ride. Number 15 is Roadrunner Express. This is a Vekoma roller skater, and of the three kiddie coasters here, this is definitely the best one. These roller skaters kind of blur the line between a kiddie coaster and a family coaster, and this one just offers more speed and a bit more forces than Canyon Blaster and Speedy Gonzales. That being said, it's still a kiddie coaster, which is why it's coming in towards the bottom of the list. Number 14 is the oldest roller coaster in the park, Gold Rusher. This is an Aero Mine Train that is pretty boring, to be honest. Some of these Aero Mine Trains have a couple moments of airtime, but this one doesn't have any. It gives you some good views of Six Flags Magic Mountain and especially Full Throttle, but this is a very mild family coaster that works as a stepping stone from the kiddie coasters to some of the larger roller coasters at Six Flags Magic Mountain. Number 13 is Ninja. This is an aero suspended coaster, which is a rare coaster model nowadays, unfortunately, because these things are really fun. And while this ride may not be as good as Vortex at Canada's Wonderland or the Bat at Kings Island, it's still a good ride. I really like how it interacts with the terrain. It's really surrounded by trees, which makes it, I don't know if it's surrounded by trees anymore with West Coast Racers and now, but it used to be really surrounded by trees, and it just felt really isolated from the rest of the park. And it's a good family coaster. Really, the only complaint I have with Ninja is that it has a final lift hill at the end of the ride that basically goes right into the brake run. So that's kind of like a letdown ending, but the ride itself is very solid, and I'm just happy that it's an aero suspended coaster that's still around. Number 12 was the first looping coaster ever built, well, first modern looping coaster ever built, New Revolution. This is a Schwarzkopf looper, and again, Schwarzkopf loopers are a ride that's been kind of going extinct recently, so it's good to see that there is one here and that it's still around. This is a classic, it's been around forever, and for its time, it was a good ride. Hasn't aged too well. It's really slow for a lot of the layout, and it just kind of meanders around, but it's okay. The vertical loop is solid, and I like the terrain interactions. Overall, good roller coaster, mostly historic roller coaster, but not the best ride at Magic Mountain by any means. Number 11 is Viper. This is a massive aero looping coaster that can be very polarizing. Some people say it's really rough and one of the worst rides in the park, and some people say it's smooth, forceful, and fun. I think about a mix of the two. It's really rough, not a smooth ride at all, lots of headbanging, but the layout is so good that I can put that aside because this ride really is awesome. First of all, it's huge. This is the last one of those massive aero loopers left, and I thank God it's still around because those things are always blast. The loops are incredibly forceful, great positive Gs, and the second half of the ride has some inversions that have some good hang time, like the Batwing and especially that double corkscrew. While it could be a bit smoother, and that's the reason it doesn't quite crack the top 10, Viper is still a great ride that never has a line, so you should ride it if you're at the park. Number 10 is Apocalypse. A lot of people would rank Apocalypse in the top 5, maybe even the top 3 at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but for me, meh, it's not one of my favorites in the park. It's a great ride, don't get me wrong. It's fast, it's got good pacing, it's got some pretty good laterals too, and I'm a fan of wooden coasters, but compared to a lot of other GCI wooden coasters, This is a bottom half GCI for sure. It's really short. The ride feels over too quickly, and it doesn't provide much in the way of airtime. But if you want some good laterals and a fast-paced ride, then this is a really good roller coaster, and it's a solid ride. Number 9 is a roller coaster that gets too much hate from enthusiasts, and that's Superman Escape from Krypton. This is the tallest and fastest roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain, reaching a height of 415 feet and a maximum speed of 100 miles an hour. And while it has a very simple layout, that's okay, because it's a lot of fun. The backwards launch is great, while the acceleration is slow, you still really feel the speed, and accelerating backwards isn't a sensation that you're used to on roller coasters, so it's unique in that regard. And it's fun when you just shoot up that tower and you're staring straight down at the ground. Some people say it doesn't reach the top of the tower, and it doesn't go all the way, but I make it into the red on most of the times I've done this, so it still gets really high. It's a great roller coaster that doesn't get enough credit from coaster enthusiasts, and I'd honestly take it over Apocalypse because while both are short, Superman offers a much more thrilling ride experience. Number 8 is Full Throttle. This is a Premier Rides launch coaster, and I had a really hard time deciding whether I like this or Superman Escape from Krypton better, but I ended up going with Full Throttle because it's a longer ride with more elements, though it is still very short. This is a really cool launch coaster. There's not much out there like it. The vertical loop gives some really good hang time, and you get some good ejector airtime going over the top hat. I don't know where the no airtime complaint comes from for Full Throttle. You go flying on that top hat, but it is really short, and it's not the most intense roller coaster ever. Like it's got some turns that are really low to the ground that you think would provide some good positive G's, but there isn't much in the way of positive G force on this ride. It's not the most forceful, but the loop still gives incredible hang time. You have that really good airtime moment, and while it is short, it's a fun ride. Now we're getting into the really good ones. And yes, I said really good rides when I'm introducing the number 7 coaster on this list, Goliath. This Galvanola coaster is hated by coaster enthusiasts. Many consider it one of the worst major roller coasters in the park and one of the worst hypercoasters out there. And I think this ride gets way too much flack. Okay, it's not a B&M hyper, and I think the reason people complain about it is because it's not as airtime focused as some of the other hypercoasters. That being said, still a great ride. Incredible sense of speed in the first half of the ride. It feels like you never slow down, and you even have one really good moment of floater airtime. And then the second half of the ride has some fun overbank turns and a bone-crushing helix. Is this the best coaster ever? No. Is it the best hyper coaster ever? Definitely not. That mid-course brake run hits way too hard, but just for the helix alone, I think that one singular moment is enough to call this a good ride. And some of the other fun elements, like the airtime hill, the first drop, and pretty much the whole first half of Goliath, makes this worthy of being called a fun ride. So yeah, I think Goliath is a great roller coaster that deserves more love. Talking about coasters that deserve more love, number 6 is the B&M floorless coaster Scream. Six Flags Magic Mountain has a great B&M collection, and while this is the weakest B&M of the pack, don't be fooled, because Scream is awesome. There's a clone of this at Six Flags Great Adventure called Bizarro that enthusiasts tend to really love, so I don't get the hate for Scream. Sure, it's a parking lot coaster, but there are plenty of parking lot coasters out there. Hell, there are parking lot coasters in the same park as Scream that don't get nearly as much hate. And to the people who say it's rough, like, are you insane? It's a B&M. They're all pretty smooth, and this is one of the smoother B&Ms out there. It's just like it's smooth as glass. And then that allows you to enjoy the ride's awesome layout. You have 7 great inversions, pretty intense ride, got some good moments of positive G's. Great ride. I don't really have any complaints about Scream. Number 5 is Riddler's Revenge. This is the best B&M stand-up coaster out there by far. I actually really enjoy stand-up coasters, so I enjoy Riddlers more than most people. This thing is massive. It's incredibly fast. You really feel that wind in your face. It's intense as hell. Like the positive G's you're pulling on the vertical loop, the bottoms of the dive loop, that final corkscrew before you go into the brake run. Oh my god, that thing just whips you right through it. This is a phenomenal roller coaster, one of the better rides that B&M has ever made, and one of the best coasters at Six Flags Magic Mountain. 4 is Batman the Ride. Is this a clone? Yes. Is there a reason that this is a clone? Well, the reason this is at like every Six Flags park is because these things are amazing. They're fast paced, incredibly intense rides. If you love positive G force, this is the roller coaster for you. You're pretty much just slammed into that seat from the bottom of the first drop to the final brake run. I especially love the whip that you go through on the 0G roll and those final corkscrews, but the vertical loops provide you with some intense positive forces, and that helix will make you gray out almost every time. This is one also runs faster than a lot of Batman clones, so it'll provide you a better experience than a lot of them, and I just love that black and blue color scheme. Number 3 is Tatsu. This is the park's B&M flying coaster, and is by far my favorite B&M at Six Flags Magic Mountain. While Tatsu isn't as tense as a ride like Batman or Riddler's Revenge, what makes it so great is how graceful it is. Just the views you get of the park from this thing as you soar hundreds of feet in the air over the trees really makes it an awesome experience. And while most of this ride is actually pretty relaxing and not super intense, that pretzel loop has to be one of the most intense moments of any roller coaster. You're just slammed into the back of your seat on that thing. And this is a long ride, especially compared to some of the other B&M flyers, such as the Superman Ultimate Flight clones. Tatsu is one of the best flying coasters that B&M has made, as well as my favorite B&M in the park, and this is the ride that you should run to as soon as rope drop happens, because it pulls huge crowds. So if you don't get here right when the park opens, be prepared to wait in a really long line for it. The top two at Six Flags Magic Mountain, it really comes down to personal preference, which of these you prefer. They're both phenomenal roller coasters, so just depending on what you like, you'll like one of these probably the best. Coming in number 2, I've Twisted Colossus. This is the park's RMC roller coaster, and this is a great RMC. Definitely upper middle tier for RMCs. It's like an incredibly long ride. You have two sides, so you have blue side and green side. They're supposed to duel. They don't duel very much, but when they do, you're in for a great ride. Even when they don't, this has by far the best airtime out of any roller coaster, not just at Six Flags Magic Mountain, but in the entire state of California. There's many moments of airtime, including vertical ejector airtime, lateral ejector airtime, as well as one moment of floater airtime. Twisted Colossus packs a lot into its layout, and it's one of those roller coasters that you can ride over and over and over again without getting tired of it. At many parks, this would be the star attraction by far, but at Six Flags Magic Mountain, it is just barely edged out by an even crazier roller coaster. That even crazier roller coaster is X2. While Twisted Colossus is a ton of fun, X2 is definitely my favorite roller coaster at Six Flags Magic Mountain, and definitely my favorite roller coaster in California. This is one of the most intense experiences you can have on any ride. It's an aerodynamics 4D coaster, so it means the trains flip independently of the track, and this leads to just some madness. That first drop, dropping over 200 feet face first, is unreal. One of the best elements ever. And that last Raven turn before you hit the brakes is just so violent. Like the force you're being thrown into your restraints with. And the rest of the ride is really good too. There's an airtime hole in this thing where the train does like a 360 flip, which is awesome. There's a fly to lie, I think is what the element is called. Um, that's great too. The first Raven turn is just so high, you get such a good view, and then just dive on down. X2, not as re-rideable as Twisted Colossus, and it's not the smoothest roller coaster ever, but I can put that aside just looking at how insane this ride is. This is one of the most innovative and important roller coasters in amusement park history, as well as one of the best roller coasters in the world, and it's the best ride at Six Flags Magic Mountain. So, that concludes my list of the top 10 roller coasters at the park with more roller coasters than any other. I'm interested to see what your guys' lists of your favorite rides at Six Flags Magic Mountain are, because they really can vary with a park with such a huge coaster lineup and such a stacked coaster lineup. I look forward to returning for West Coast Racers. That looks like a ton of fun. Probably will make the top 10 on this list. But yeah, this park is great. They got a really good coaster lineup, and it's one you should definitely check out.